live at Onigashima. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Jimmy, and we're bringing you chapter 1101. Wow, we are getting to some big numbers up here.
I know.
But I'm ready to hop right into it. Dear Bonnie, starting off right where we left off with KUMA at the Luffy's island. And one thing I have to say is I was surprised that he wasn't sent there. He's on there for his own free will because he knows Luffy is Dragon's son.
Right. Yeah, he was just I mean, I don't think anybody thought, oh, KUMA, it's just like the reason he's there is just because he be creeping, you know, like, and he just wanted to look at. But no,
I thought it was gonna be like the Gorse sent him there because maybe they knew.
Yeah, I mean, the government sent him somewhere. Like we see later in the chapter that he was sent there to fight random ass group of pirates. It would have been cool if that was actually like somebody, like whoever those pirates that he fucked up were. But we see after the fact, after he goes to the island, because he was like, oh, I'm already in the East Blue, like, don't worry, I'll take care of the thing. But he happened to be, yeah, like, you know, seeking out Luffy, I guess, in East Blue. Like, that's what he was doing there. We see more context for Dragon and Kuma's kind of thought on the whole being a father.
Yeah, so that's one thing I wanted to talk about, because this shows that Dragon is not really making decisions haphazardly. Like, he definitely cares about Luffy based on what he's saying here. And he definitely had a reason for leaving them.
All right, you're not wrong, but for that to be the reaction to this bum ass behavior, like, he was just like, kids will make me weak, like, I'm just gonna leave him. Imagine in the real world if somebody did that. They were just like, you know, I think kids are my weak spot. They'd be arrested. They'd be sent to child services.
I don't think he was trying to say children make me weak. I think he's trying to say I have dangerous shit.
I understand. No. So I totally get it, and I really think that, like, this is setting up what eventually will be Dragon's big character arc. Because eventually he and Luffy are gonna have to meet. Like, it's not gonna not happen. Will it happen on Egghead? I don't know.
I'm not so sure about that anymore. I said it maybe could happen before, but I feel like it's being saved for something bigger in the end.
Right. This specific scene, I think, makes you kind of question, will Dragon show up to Egghead or not? Because a lot of people thought that Dragon might, you know, wind himself over there and just show up and have some big showing. I don't know if Dragon needs to be involved in this arc after hearing this. You know what I mean? Like, I
feel like if Dragon's involved in this arc, it diminishes when he's gonna be needed for a really big arc. Like, I think it kind of takes away from, like, Kuma's spotlight by bringing Dragon here, because we all know Kuma's showing up at Egghead. We all know, like, it's gonna be a big deal.
It's true. We don't really need any more.
Dragon then also makes a new appearance. Like, what does that really do for anything?
You know, like, the arc is, I'm not gonna say dragged on, but the arc is long enough at this point that, like, I think we're done getting, like, new characters in the mix like that, like random new characters that we don't already know are on the island, because there's still a lot of characters that we know are on the island that we haven't touched on in, like, forever. Where's Caribou? Where are these Blackbeard pirates that pulled up? You know,
Caribou? Like, that's the big one. Who cares about the Blackbeard pirates? Like, where's
that?
Caribou?
Was my first question. You know, where's Caribou?
I wonder, and I know it's not related to this chapter at all, but I'm going off on a small tangent. What if Caribou is gonna team up with the Blackbeard pirates, and that's kind of the only purpose for the Blackbeard pirates really?
A lot of people think
maybe they take Caribou, maybe they take some of the tech, and then maybe they did.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. I think that, like, people think that Caribou can go one of two ways at this point. There's, like, he's Blackbeard's guy or he's Crocodile's guy. I like the Crocodile thing, but, you know, it would be an easy wrap up if he just went with the Blackbeard pirates at this point, and Oda can kind of section off these different threats instead of But, you know, I do like it being something for the Cross Guild. But beyond that, so Dragon here, he interestingly, you know, he's, like, actively being a bum, right? Like, he actively,
well, he's not being a bum. He's trying to save the world.
Yeah, because, you know, I know. So it's like, because we've seen throughout the story characters, it's like statistically their downfall is their kids. We see, like,
Whitebeard is the biggest example, right? Like, he literally died trying to save his son.
Man, I had this
But
whole list of examples, and then I just blanked right
it's
now.
a very short list.
It's not.
But
It's not a
speaking of
short-
kids that we get to see in this chapter, we get to see a younger version of Luffy. I actually like seeing
True.
how he's
Yeah.
like practicing all of those techniques we saw near the beginning, like the gum gum axe.
Mhm.
Like we saw him when he was really young trying to do the gum gum pistol. So it's just kind of like more world building, and I think it's really fun to see.
Yeah, it's
I
really
don't know
cute
why
because
also, though,
like
he
he
reminds me of Ace a lot here. Like he just looks like
facts.
Ace
Yeah, he
with
kind
the
of
hat
does
off.
look. He kind of does look like Ace because he got his shirt off and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that scene was super cute because he says like, if somebody tries to take them away, I'm never gonna let that happen. I'll give them the gum gum axe to the face. That'll show them, like that's exactly what he did to Arlong when they
Yeah.
stole Nami, which is awesome. Like I
So
love
it's
that
like
Luffy was like preparing for that.
foreshadowing, but post foreshadowing because it's happening when he's younger.
It's not
but it's in the future
foreshadowing.
from when we
It's
saw it
world
happen.
building. Everybody's like, bro, it's not foreshadowing. All right, all right.
It's post pre-shadowing.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, so that I think the top half of this chapter was like very interesting. So we know that Luffy doesn't know Kuma until Sabaody. So like that's confirmed. Like we saw that before. That was a big question of the last chapter.
I will say though, one thing that Luffy says here, where he's like, "Oh, what's that weird feeling just now?" Like, it makes sense if he's like, "Oh, what was that noise?" Because the Denmushi was ringing. But the feeling thing, I feel like is just a hint at his like early onset of like observation haki and how proficient he is with haki in general.
Yeah, he's
And he
gifted
just didn't know what it was.
for sure. Yeah, he's above the rest, just like the other brothers of the Goa Kingdom. Everybody had they all had feats when they were kids. So later in this chapter, I want to talk more about Bonnie. So now
Yeah,
the
I was about
Bonnie
to say,
half of the
speaking of
chapter.
kids, there's an entire other part of this chapter all dedicated to Bonnie, what I really liked. It's really cute getting to see Kuma write the letters, but man, fuck CP8 for
Dude,
not
fuck
giving those letters.
Alpha.
Like, what is they literally caused their own demise just because they like being assholes. Like Bonnie getting these letters isn't gonna like do anything bad, but them not giving her the letters is what's making her rebel.
Right,
So it's
and it's cute to. I'm assuming this is towards the end of the flashback at this point because we are wrapping up. I know we've been saying that forever, but like, I don't know how many more chapters of the flashback we're gonna get. Clearly, like Oda wants to give like a very fleshed out.
I'm gonna say what I've
character
said
to both
every
of
week,
these.
one more chapter.
Yeah, maybe. But what's interesting about that is like we know now that Bonnie is remembering all these things. Like this is the Bonnie flashback. She is remembering this through Kuma's memories, so it's cute to know that she like knows all these letters now after we know that Alpha ripped them all up like a bitch.
Yeah, I'm glad that's one thing like when rereading the arc is gonna be really nice, is getting to like experience like what Bonnie got to saw here. Now that we know she saw all these, now that we know she got to actually read every single one of these letters and she saw all of Kuma's memories, like it's sad though.
It is sad. It's tragic. But this is like a real backstory for Bonnie. Like they fully fleshed out Bonnie. Speaking of which, she's pretty damn strong. She whacked her at the end there.
Yeah, she whacked the Khalifa clone, CP8 agent. What was her name? Alpha or something.
Yeah,
she turned
Alpha.
into. I like it. How she did the Nika-ish future. Because like it's just like a reference to what she's grown, what she's had faith in this whole time. And I think it kind of lends the fact that I know some people at the beginning of the arc were like, oh, Bonnie could be the next Straw Hat. And usually at the beginning of arcs when people start saying that, I just kind of throw it away because people say that about everyone. Carrot's gonna join, Momo's gonna join.
No, but this one feels real. This one feels more real. Like I feel like Bonnie has the stakes. Bonnie has the motivation, the realness too. Like Bonnie, where does Bonnie go from here after Egghead Island? Like what's she gonna be? She's gonna be somebody that embodies the ideals of Nika, right? Like that's like where all this is pointing to. There's gonna be a passing of the torch from Kuma's ideals to her. She got all of his memories, and she's even doing like a Nika attack right here. She gave Alpha the elephant gun, straight up, like.
She just needs to add some haki to it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like it just makes it like her getting this backstory if she has this tragic death and it's gonna play out in real time, just show like gives me more hope that she's actually gonna join the crew. Because one of the problems with Yamato that a lot of people said at the time, even though she was saying I'm gonna join, I'm gonna join, I'm gonna join, was she didn't really have her own backstory, and she didn't really have that tragedy in her backstory, which every single Straw Hat needs that. So now that we're seeing this with Bonnie, and we kind of knew it's been coming.
Well,
I just
Yamato
think it
had
lends to the
like
fact that she's gonna
some
join.
like I really did get fooled by
No.
Yamato, to be honest, but
I got fooled too, but that's why I'm gonna get fooled again by Bonnie.
Maybe,
but
yeah,
also,
but they're going harder with Bonnie. Like, this is like a real full ass backstory.
And it's like you were saying, like we can see where her crew was made up before. Like it was foreshadowed earlier because people recognize like, oh, the people in the church are the same people on her crew, and we get to see that form here. But where does Bonnie go after Egghead? Like you were saying, like she doesn't really have like, is she gonna go back to Sorbet Kingdom? I don't think so. I think they're gonna be expecting that and gonna have people there. Like, is she gonna keep sailing? No, her destination was kind of here at Egghead to find out and save Kuma. But if Kuma sacrifices himself, like, what's she gonna do? So I think following Nika and following with the Straw Hats is basically gonna be her only option.
I think that would be great. Honestly, like I'm fully on the Bonnie train at this point. Like I would love for her, cause like, you know, also I think the Straw Hats need another kid crew member. Like it can't just be Momonosuke, right? Didn't Roger have Shanks and Buggy? Like Luffy's gotta pay it forward. Luffy and Nami,
yeah, I mean,
Nami
and we all
will be
thought
there
that it was
for
gonna
her.
be Momo or Tama, but
Right, Tama was a big contender, but now Bonnie is like super up there. High stocks for Bonnie, for sure.
And what's good about it too is even though she'll be a kid, she's gonna be able to fight in like the big upcoming battles too because of her powers. Like
she's strong. Yeah, she's
strong,
really strong
and she's
kid.
aggressive. She's not like scared of anything but
which
bugs,
is cool
apparently.
because I feel like the Straw Hats getting a really strong kid at the end is gonna be a fun contrast to the Seraphim. So the Seraphim are like, you know, kids that the Straw Hats right now had problems with. Think of the end of the story when they supposedly grow up even more or whatever. Like they might be like teenagers by the end of the story or something like that. But it'd be interesting to see Bonnie as a kid being this badass and like, you know, fighting alongside the Straw Hats, an Emperor of the Sea. Like we've seen some pretty intense kids before. Like Momo was pretty dope in the end. He
was carrying an island. That's like the strongest feat we've seen from a kid.
Yeah, but I feel like Bonnie, you know, this is a pretty big feat from Bonnie, but I think
one of the
from
main
here,
differences
like, we want more.
Bonnie, I think the main differences between Bonnie and Momo though is kind of their actions toward and like how they act about everything. Like Bonnie seems just in general a lot more brave about everything, and Momo's whole character arc was about how he was like a whiny like kid, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's gonna lead Bonnie to a lot of places, but it's also still crazy that she sets out to sea at the age of 9
by herself at the age
crazy.
of 9. I mean, not by herself. I mean, she got her homies on it, but also Queen Dowager, shout out. Like she's
the goat.
She's the goat. Like skirted around the government and was like, "You escape, you 9-year-old. Go get on the boat." And we made it look like pizza. We know you love pizza. Like, dude, this kid, if I was Bonnie, like Bonnie got a great childhood as much as she could get for being in the situation that she was. Like, you know.
Yeah. She was put in a really crappy situation.
The people around her, like Kuma chose right. Like I think underrated. No, it's not underrated. Kuma is decisively the best dad in One Piece, and I think that like people are pretty unanimously putting him at like top 5 character at this point.
I mean, it depends what you're looking for in a top 5, because most of the time in my top 5, like I just like some of the cool characters, Zoro, Luffy, Law, all in my top 5. But I will say Kuma is pretty up there. I do like him.
Pretty in depth. Like I'm excited to get more of this. I'm excited to get more.
Well, sadly, I don't think we're gonna get that much more. Like we said earlier, I think this is kind of like the end of the flashback. Her setting sail. Like, what more do we need to see? We kind of thought last chapter, oh, maybe it extends a little longer because he's seeing Luffy, but we saw that wasn't really anything.
So
that was kind of like
my last question. as far as this all goes, for the next chapter is I thought the same thing. This wraps it up. Like we see Bonnie go out to sea and how she got with like her whole crew.
And we get the narrator boxes.
We get the narrator boxes. We know what Kuma's doing, but do you think there's going to be a big ending transition in this flashback to cut back to Saturn holding Bonnie up and telling everybody to shoot her in the head? Like, do you think there's gonna be
I think we're gonna be
a
something
big twist or something or some reveal at the end of this flashback?
I don't know what it's going to be, but I think there is going to be something. Maybe it just cuts to her journey after this for a little while, like her going through the Grand Line, like her getting to Sabaody and all that stuff. But I will say this does kind of answer one of the questions we've had for like a few chapters now, where it kind of captured Bonnie. One, this doesn't explain how she escaped that, which maybe we get to see that.
Yeah.
But two, he was saying like, "Oh, you escaped us again." This is clearly the first time she escaped the world government, then, right? Because she's in CP8's clutches and then escapes. So this must be what he's referring to.
It could be, yeah. This could be what he's referring to, and I think that would pretty much wrap that up. But there might be a situation where we see Bonnie get captured again after that, and then set sail again. I doubt it. Like I think this would suffice. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm interested to see. I think what we're gonna see with Bonnie is we're gonna see her whole journey until she gets to Sabaody Archipelago, because that's where we first see her in the story. So then we would pretty much be caught up, and we see Kuma there too, obviously. So we would pretty much know everything, and at that point it would flash back forward. So in that time frame, like I don't know what more there is for us to see.
I just think we see her go to a few islands. I think it takes like maybe half a chapter or less to catch us up. We see a few panels of her going to some islands, and then we get to see her journey, and then we cut back to Egghead, and we see her about to get beheaded.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, maybe that's where Kuma steps in.
Yeah. Well,
but
we won't know because we won't know soon because I hate to tell you, but break next
tragedy. Break next week. I can't believe it. No, I actually can. I'm surprised we've gotten this many chapters in a row.
It was like
I'm
three.
really
It
glad
was a straight
to see
three.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are going into December, which is going to be the slow month for all mangas, just because of all the different holidays. So we'll see how many more we get before the end of the year. I assume just one, maybe two more if we're lucky. But I think just one more chapter.
I'd be happy with anything. Like I think, do we flash back to Saturn before the end of the year? Who knows? Do we stay in this flashback into 2024? Your guess is as good as ours. I think that one fun thing that I really want to do this holiday season, because the flashback is a good like stopping point. Like Feats pre-story, where the story stopped, are fresh. Like the Kizaru Luffy fight and everything. I think it's gonna be a great time to get in on the top 30 trend, and do our own individual rankings of who we think is top 30. So look out for that.
I'm ready to put Bonnie at number 1. Nah, I'm kidding. But get ready for some top 30 videos. We're out here. We're gonna hopefully use this break to make some content. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as usual, fight us in the comments.
Fight us in the comments, y'all. All right. That's all from us. Peace out.